Hey, this is Lucas here with Pro Archery Ballistics. We're going to talk about our newest feature in the app, the Bow Build Library. Today I have the Android version on the screen here, and we're going to talk about how this is going to function. Starting on the input page, as we always do in the app, at the very top you're going to see a button that says Bow Build Library. Click here. If you click this button, you see you come into your Bow Build Library. Now, when you first come into this library, you won't have a bow build like I do here. So we're going to click this and we're going to delete this build. You'll have a blank library. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to hit the plus icon next to the click to add build. This brings up a field of data that you can fill in. Now, if you've already been using the app, I suggest that you would save builds 1 through 5. To do this, you're going to click the Fill Data from Build, which is the second button from the top there. We're going to click this button. All of the data for the build that we are currently on will be filled into the fields below. And you can see this here. The plus mark, or the check mark, excuse me, in the top right will save the build. We can go back to our inputs page, select our next build, which is build 2. And this is a PSE Mach 33 for me. I'll go back into the Bow Build Library. I'll click the plus mark, fill from data, and check. I'll do this for each of the 5 builds, and I'm going to do that quickly here. In my case, I only have 3 builds that I'm actively using. So I'm not going to save the other ones. Those are just unused build data. But to reference how this library is going to work, I'm going to use build 4, which for me was an unused build, and it just has build name for the name of the build. If I come to the input page and I select build 4, I can go to my bow library and I can click on any of the builds that I have saved in there. For example, let's click on my Mach 33. I can then load this data to the build, which is the first button at the top. It says load data to build. Now build 4 is loaded with all of the PSE Mach 33 data that was previously saved. I can again go back to the bow library. I can then click on my reckoning and I can load data to build. And now build 4 is my Bowtech reckoning. All the relevant data necessary to that build will be loaded into the calculator. Now, when you first set up a build, we're going to use build 5 for this example. You open the excuse me. You open the app, you come to the input page. You have a couple options for setting up your builds. You can open the Bow Build Library, you can click the plus button, and if you know all of the necessary data, you can fill in the data. For example, you'll need velocity, mass, outside diameter, arrow length, fletching number, fletching length, height, angle, sight radius, and the peep to arrow measurement. The drag is already filled in, as well as an air density value. I would recommend building your data from the input page though, because this allows you to have a bunch of different options for how you choose to build data. For example, maybe I want to build with sight marks, in which case I would toggle over the use sight marks to build data. I would then click the button, follow the features to use the sight marks, and build my data from there. Now, when I build data from sight marks, what's happening is the app is calculating a ballistics coefficient and a velocity to build a ballistics curve which matches the data given. This data is what would be saved in the Bow Build Library. So you don't have to remember your marks. Those will be saved as long as you don't update or change that build number 1 through 5, but they aren't currently saved to the build library. I may be adding those in the future, But right now, we're going to keep the information a little bit simpler so you don't have to constantly try to rebuild data. Likewise, from the input page, I could also enter two velocities. I could enter my velocity of my arrow leaving the bow, and I could also click the button to enter a downrange velocity. For example, at 60 yards, I can enter a velocity to calculate a drag coefficient, which is truing my setup with a downrange velocity. Again, the drag coefficient gets updated and saved into the bow build library. So when I bring that build in again, the information as far as sight tapes or sight marks is being built correctly. A little bit more information here on the bow build library, which I've come back into in the app. If you ever want to delete bows, you can click on that particular bow and hit the trash icon. For example, I have a blank build here that has no name. I'm going to open that, hit the trash icon, and it is now deleted. It does not ask you to confirm deletion before it is gone, so be careful with that button. You don't want to lose data and have to recreate it or remeasure. This is the latest feature of Pro Archery Ballistics. We're bringing all the greatest features on the device, on your phone, all the time. If you have any questions, please reach out anytime. You can reach us at proballistics.com for merch information and more. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful day.